Today, I think we should talk about safety on the road. As a travel journalist, I have been solo in a lot of places, remote. I'm very fortunate and blessed that, I've never had any major bad incidents, but I also don't skip on safety. You want to make sure you have copies safely stored digitally or with someone who you trust at home of your passport, your driver license, your health insurance card, okay? You can encrypt the files and also store them on something like Dropbox if you have a subscription to Dropbox. I think it's free up to a certain point too. Some people put their copies of their important documents on their iPhones and use the hide feature. Now that's at your discretion. I don't love to do that. Sometimes I do it, but I definitely have copies stored in different places. You want to carry travel insurance. Now that is separate from health insurance. Guys, don't skimp on travel insurance. The way that I do it is I get an annual subscription with Alliance. Now, I don't get any commissions from this. I have used Alliance for the last several years, and I did it after a friend of mine recommended it. So that also takes the worry away from, I have to buy insurance for every single trip individually, which will cost you a lot more than it needs to. The annual plan with Alliance is like something like $150, I want to say. I have to check, so don't quote me on that. But it's really, really much cheaper than buying insurance per trip. And then you want to choose, the level of coverage that you need. But having travel insurance means if you need to get airlifted, you have the coverage, at least $100,000 and up. You also want to make sure that you know what the health care situation is in the country you're visiting, because some places will require you to pay before they take care of you. And that could be really devastating. So just keep that in mind. Carry extra locks, TSA locks. Yes. I put them on my suitcase. I keep extra ones in case I need to use it on my handbag when I'm out on a day trip somewhere. You're going with a tour group and you got to leave your backpack somewhere. And if I need it, I use a lock. When I'm in the hotel room, I never leave anything of value exposed, ever. I never use the safe of the hotel room, and I never leave my computer or my phone or anything valuable, jewelry, outside, just laying around. I recently, in the last 2 years, started using an Apple Airtag. It gives me peace of mind. It's not foolproof, obviously. I mean, something could happen to your suitcase. It could disappear in transit, but thankfully, so far, it has worked. It tells me exactly where my suitcase is. It's like Find My iPhone before your suitcase. And it tells me where it is. It tells me it's near me. It's been loaded on the plane. And then when I arrive, it tells me it's at baggage claim. It shows me that it's actually close to me, which is a huge relief. Dress low key and pack clothes that are also low key for the times that you're going to be out and about in the street, hanging out. This is especially for long-term travelers. There's no need to walk down the street in your flashy designer clothes or designer tennis shoes. Any of that. You don't want to draw attention to yourself. You don't want people to think, oh, there's the foreigner. There goes the American with the money. You really want to be blending in. So make sure that your wardrobe reflects that. Obviously, it's okay to bring dressy clothes when you're going out at night and also blending. Just be mindful of how you look. It's something I never leave without. That's a door stopper or a door jammer. Shoot, I was going to show you the one that I have that I carry. I don't have it here handy, but it's basically something that you put under the door of your hotel, your front, the entry door of your hotel room, and it prevents someone from being able to open the door fully. It definitely stops them, or at least slows them down enough that you can hear something happening. And others don't let it open at all, like a door jammer. So I really recommend you pack that. It's not heavy, it's tiny, and it's an added safety step in hotels, especially for solo female travelers like us. And you already know this, don't hail random taxis, okay? Make sure you know what car you're getting into at all times. In many countries, including the Caribbean, Uber is very active and very safe. I've taken it a gazillion times in different places, and it's been fine, thank God. You always want to also share the Uber ride with someone who's registered on your phone, your loved one. For me, it's always my husband, so I always add him to my Uber ride. Don't get into a random taxi at the airport when you arrive. Make sure you arrange that in advance. and make sure you know who's picking you up. Get data. That's one of the things that I always do when I'm a long-term traveler. I get a SIM card from the destination, and I also get data so that I can have access to internet anywhere. If you're from the United States and you have T-Mobile, you actually do have access to data overseas. Just check the listing of countries that you have access to, but you should be able to turn on your data and use it, and it's not roaming. And you can also use your own data instead of tuning into the open Wi-Fi, which, by the way, be careful with that. I don't trust those anymore. You can get your data stolen really easily. So just remember that. Here's something I used to do as a travel guidebook author when I was going all over the country, whether in Belize or DR. I had to take a lot of public transportation, including buses. And I mean, everyone rides those buses, right? So I had to be very mindful of my belongings and blending in, etc. And so I would use a second phone. If I needed to make phone calls to link up with whoever I was meeting with for my research, I would use my flip phone. None of those old flip phones we used to have. And I use that for phone calls. I use it, to text. I would never whip out my iPhone for that. Never. My iPhone always remained stored in my bag as an extra. If you wouldn't trust someone right away that you met on the street here in the US, don't do that abroad. So, people can be friendly, sure, and you can let your guard down when you're staying long term somewhere. But the common sense rules apply. If you only just met them an hour ago, don't invite them to your house. That's just trust me, don't do it. Get to know the person, get to know people, take your time, and make sure that you know who you're inviting into your space. Don't share your business with everyone. I've heard people tell stories about how they inherited money, or how their husband left them X amount of money, how they have this house in Colorado, or whatever it is. There's no need to tell your life story to anyone. In some countries, people tend to, talk about themselves and share their personal stories. I would say you can share it a bit by yourself, but just be very mindful when it comes to material stuff. You don't need to be telling anyone what you have. It will keep you safe. People won't start thinking about what they can get from you. I know this sounds really negative, but that's the rule that I've used. It's always served me well. No, I'm just a little writer. I don't really have much, and that's it. That's fine. Until you get to know people. And even then, it applies to both men and women. Do not leave your drinks unattended. If you're at a bar and you're getting served, make sure you see when you're being served your drink. Make sure you see it when your beer bottle is being opened. Do not walk away and trust that the person you've just met hanging out with will watch over your drink and won't do anything to it. I say this because even recently, there was a really unfortunate incident where this African-American businessman was apparently seemingly drugged in his apartment, took back two women to their apartment after the bar. They just met apparently. And the next thing you know, unfortunately, they had spiked the drinks. Don't be too trusting. Stay in groups. When you're going out at night, try to avoid going out solo, especially for women and even for men, actually. Just, safety in numbers is a true adage. And the group ensures that everyone gets home safe. Keep your wits about you even on hotel grounds. If you're staying in a big all-inclusive resort, for example, or a big hotel space, you definitely want to just, be mindful. This is a public space and I say public because there are a lot of other strangers staying on grounds too. So just be mindful. Women, for me, I've just come back from dinner, let's say, or an event or whatever. It's late at night and I'm about to get into elevator bank and I see that there's two men in the elevator and just me. I won't get in. That's just common sense for me. I'll wait it out. I'll wait till the next elevator comes because I don't need a situation where I'm uncomfortable and who knows, I get on my floor, there's nobody around except for the two men. You never know, right? So just minimize. It's all about minimizing risk when you're traveling abroad. Lastly, trust your gut. Always trust your instincts. If something doesn't feel right, if somebody doesn't sound right, get away from that situation and always trust your instinct. These are all the tips that I consistently have used for the last 20 plus years of my travel around the world. Stay safe out there. And if you have any questions, remember, drop them in the comments. I'm here to give suggestions. And maybe you have your own safety tips that I haven't mentioned that are super helpful and I could pick some up too. So leave them in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. If this was helpful, don't forget to subscribe. There's a lot more content to come, and I'll see you next time.